My wife said, "My family always comes first." I smiled and replied, "You're right. I understand." That night, I quietly changed everything. Then, one day, in an emergency, she came running, crying. But I said just one sentence that took her breath away. I'm a 30-year-old guy, and 3 weeks ago, I watched my wife of 5 years completely fall apart in my living room. The same living room where she'd told me, countless times, that her family would always come before me. The same living room where I'd swallowed my pride so many times I'd forgotten what it tasted like. But that night, when she needed me most, I finally said what I'd been holding in for years. And honestly, I don't regret a single word. Let me take you back to the beginning. I met my wife, Danielle, when we were both 24. She was beautiful, funny, and had this way of making everyone around her feel like they mattered. I fell hard and fast. We dated for a year before I proposed, and we got married 6 months after that. Everything felt perfect. At least, that's what I told myself. The problems started almost immediately after the wedding. Danielle came from a very close-knit family. And when I say close-knit, I mean suffocatingly intertwined. Her parents, her older brother Trevor, and her younger sister Brianna were involved in every single aspect of our lives. Every decision, every plan, every weekend, they had input. And Danielle never pushed back. Not once. The first major incident happened about 3 months into our marriage. We'd been saving for a vacation, just the two of us. We'd planned a trip to the coast, booked a cabin, everything was set. I was so excited. Then, 2 days before we were supposed to leave, Danielle came home looking guilty. So, my mom called. She said, not meeting my eyes. I already knew where this was going. What happened? Trevor's having a really hard time. His girlfriend broke up with him, and Mom thinks we should all go to their lake house instead. As a family. To support him. I stared at her. We've had this trip planned for 2 months, Danielle. We already paid for the cabin. I know, but he's really struggling. And Mom said, your mom said. I repeated it slowly. What do you say? She finally looked at me, and her expression was almost apologetic. Almost. My family comes first. They always have. You knew that when you married me. I didn't argue. I called the cabin rental place, lost half our deposit, and spent the next 4 days watching Trevor mope around his parents' lake house while his mother made him smoothies and told him he was too good for any woman anyway. Meanwhile, I sat on the dock alone, wondering what I'd gotten myself into. That became the pattern. Every holiday was spent with her family, never mine. When my dad had a health scare, Danielle couldn't come to the hospital with me because Brianna had a crisis at work and needed emotional support. When I got promoted and wanted to celebrate, her parents announced a last-minute dinner, and Danielle said we could celebrate another time. Another time never came. The financial stuff was worse. About a year into our marriage, Danielle's parents asked us for a loan. $20,000. They wanted to renovate their kitchen. It's not really a loan, Danielle explained. It's family. We help each other. $20,000 is a lot of help, I said. That's half our savings. They'll pay it back. They never did. Every time I brought it up, Danielle would get defensive. That $20,000 could have been a down payment on a house. Instead, it became granite countertops and a kitchen I ate in maybe twice a year. Then came Trevor's business opportunity. This was about 2.5 years into our marriage. Trevor had bounced around from job to job his whole life. But suddenly, he had this big idea for a landscaping company. He just needed startup capital. Danielle came to me with stars in her eyes. He's really passionate about this. This could be his thing. How much? $35,000. I actually laughed. We don't have $35,000, Danielle. We barely recovered from your parents' loan. We could take out a personal loan. No. I said it firmly. I'm not going into debt so your brother can play businessman for 6 months before he gets bored. The fight that followed was one of our worst. She accused me of not understanding family loyalty. I accused her of treating me like an ATM. We didn't speak for 2 days. Her parents eventually co-signed a loan for Trevor, but Danielle was different after that. Colder. Like I'd failed some test. The night everything changed was about 4 months ago. We were having dinner when Danielle got a call from her mother. When she hung up, she said, Mom needs help with the family reunion this weekend. I told her we'd handle the catering costs. About $3,000. You told her we'd pay $3,000 without asking me. It's family, she said, like that explained everything. We have bills, Danielle. The car needs new brakes. My family always comes first. She said it so matter-of-factly. They always have, and they always will. You need to accept that by now. I looked at her for a long moment. Really looked. And something inside me just shifted, like a switch flipping. I was done arguing. Done begging for scraps of consideration. So I smiled. You're right. I understand. She seemed surprised by my calm response. Really, really, you're absolutely right. Your family comes first. She nodded, satisfied, and went back to eating like she hadn't just told me I would never be a priority in my own marriage. That night, while Danielle slept, I sat at my computer and made some decisions. Over the next few weeks, I quietly began restructuring our finances. My paychecks, which had been on direct deposit to our joint account, shifted to a new personal account. I told Danielle my company was switching payroll systems. She didn't question it. I also started documenting everything. Every request for money. Every family emergency that wasn't really an emergency. Every time I was told to sacrifice for her family. Then I called a lawyer named Patricia. The good news, she told me, is that you have strong documentation. The bad news is that money given as gifts is hard to recover. But going forward, anything in your separate account is yours. The reunion came and went. I smiled through it, paid the catering bill without complaint. But inside, I was counting down. Update 2 months after my I understand moment, Trevor's landscaping business collapsed. Shocking absolutely no one except his entire family. Trevor had defaulted on the business loan, and because Danielle's parents had co-signed, they were now on the hook for $40,000. The bank threatened foreclosure. Danielle came home devastated. They might lose the house. We need to help. Maybe we could refinance our car, Danielle. I kept my voice calm. We cannot absorb your parents' debt. We're barely staying ahead of our own expenses. But it's family. It's always family. When does it get to be us? She stared at me like I'd spoken a foreign language. They need us. How can you be so cold? I'm not cold. I'm realistic. Your brother took out a loan he couldn't handle. Your parents co-signed without considering consequences. And now they want us to clean up. Again, I pulled out my phone. Want me to read the list of every financial request your family has made in 5 years? I've been keeping track. Her face went pale. You've been keeping track? I had to start protecting myself somehow. She grabbed her keys and stayed at her parents' house for 3 days. When she came back, she didn't apologize. She just said, I will always help my family when they need it. That's who I am. Then understand I can't keep sacrificing our future for their present. We existed in a Cold War after that. Polite, distant, 2 people sharing a house, but not a life. Update 2: the emergency happened 6 weeks later. I was at work when I got a frantic call from Danielle. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. It's Brianna. She was in a car accident. She's in surgery. My car won't start, and I can't get there. Please, can you come get me? I was already grabbing my keys. I'll be there in 20 minutes. When I pulled into the driveway, Danielle was running out the door. She threw herself into the passenger seat. Thank you. Please hurry. I drove while she called her mother for updates. Brianna was still in surgery. Serious, but not life-threatening. A drunk driver had run a red light. We were halfway to the hospital when Danielle grabbed my hand. I know things have been hard between us, but thank you for being here. I know I can always count on you. Something about the way she said it made me pull the car over. What are you doing? She asked. We need to get to the hospital. I know, but I need to say something first. I turned to face her. You said you can always count on me. But Danielle, when was the last time I could count on you? She blinked. What? When my father was in the hospital, you weren't there. When I needed support after losing a major account at work, you were too busy helping your mother plan Brianna's birthday party. Every single time I've needed you to choose me, you've chosen them. That's not fair. You told me your family always comes first. Those were your exact words. And I finally understood. I was never going to be your family. Not really. She was crying again. I'm coming to you now, aren't I? You're coming to me because you need something. That's the only time you come to me. I started driving again. I'll take you to the hospital. I'll stay with you. But when this is over, I'm done. The silence lasted the rest of the drive. Update 3: Brianna's surgery was successful. Broken leg, internal bruising, concussion, but she would recover fully. I stayed for 6 hours. Brought coffee, sat quietly, let Danielle lean on me. Her parents barely acknowledged my presence. The next morning, Danielle acted like nothing happened. She made breakfast, chatted about Brianna's recovery, and asked if I could drive her to visit. I said no. What? She looked genuinely confused. I have my own things to do. You can take an Uber or have your parents pick you up. I grabbed my keys. I meant what I said. I'm done being used. Over the next week, I moved into the guest bedroom. I consulted with Patricia again and prepared paperwork. Danielle seemed in denial. Then her mother, Helen, called me directly. I don't know what game you're playing, she said, but you need to stop this nonsense. Danielle is devastated. With respect, Helen, this is between me and my wife. You are abandoning her when her sister is in the hospital. No. I drove her to the hospital. Stayed 6 hours. I was there. But I won't be manipulated into staying in a marriage where I'm treated like a background character. I took a breath. The $20,000 for your kitchen. The $3,000 for the reunion. Every weekend I gave up. I've given and gotten nothing except constant reminders that I will never matter as much as you. Silence. I'm not the villain here, Helen. I'm a man who finally realized his worth. I hung up. Final update: the divorce was finalized 3 weeks ago. Danielle tried to reconcile. She showed up at my new apartment with tears in her eyes. I'll do better. I'll set boundaries. I didn't realize how much I was hurting you. You didn't realize because you never asked, I said. And I didn't speak up because I kept hoping you'd see it on your own. We both failed this marriage. But I can't keep sacrificing myself hoping you'll change. So that's it. 5 years just gone. 5 years where I loved you more than you loved me. Yeah, that's it. She left crying. I'm not proud of how much relief I felt watching her go. Here's where everyone ended up. Trevor moved back with his parents. His credit is destroyed. He's working part-time at a hardware store and already talking about his next big venture. Danielle's parents sold the lake house to cover debts. They downsized to a condo. Helen still blames me for destroying her daughter's happiness. Brianna recovered fully. She actually reached out to apologize for never making me feel welcome. Too little too late, but I appreciated it. Danielle kept our old house. She started therapy. I hope she finds what she's looking for. As for me, I'm rebuilding. I reconnected with my own family. My dad and I go fishing every other weekend now. My mom cries sometimes because she's happy to have me back. I'm dating again, slowly. Nothing serious yet. But for the first time in years, I feel like I'm allowed to have needs. Allowed to be someone's priority. That night in the car, when Danielle said she could always count on me, I finally said what I'd been holding in. You can always count on me. But I can never count on you. And that's the difference that broke us. She didn't have an answer. Sometimes, there isn't one. Edit 1. A lot of people asking about the documentation. Yes, I kept records, dates, amounts, conversations. It wasn't vindictive, it was protection. My lawyer said it helped establish financial patterns in the marriage. Edit 2. No, I don't hate Danielle. I spent 5 years loving her. You don't switch that off. But loving someone and being able to build a life with them are two different things. Edit 3. Someone mentioned enmeshment issues. I looked it up. That tracks. Maybe if I'd understood earlier, things would have been different. Or maybe not.